welcome to the official podcast of the American Jail Association. I'm Chris Daniels, Executive Director. I'm joined today by Jonathan Ide, who is our third Vice President, Mr. Shaun Klucznik, who is our President, and Shaun Laughlin, who's our immediate past President. And today we're here to talk about a very popular member benefit, iConnect. And I'd like to start our discussion with just a description of iConnect for members who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, so iConnect is probably the most popular member benefit that I've learned to understand. iConnect is, you can easily access it if you're a member from the AJA website. You log in and you'll see that you're going to find a way to make your job a lot easier, right? So it's a treasure trove of historical information about people asking questions. It's a discussion board, a discussion forum, people asking questions of their peers across the country, asking, hey, I have this situation, how do you handle this? Or, hey, we're developing this program, does anybody have a policy? Or somebody's just going to troubleshoot their use of force policy or something like that, and they want to get some examples and see what other jurisdictions are doing. It is extremely active. It's a great place to, honestly show some leadership. I think, maybe a little competition too. I just looked over at Jonathan thinking about, there are those mornings where I get to work at 4:30 in the morning and I take a picture of the leaderboard and I'm like, oh, there's Shaun Klucznik right there at the bottom. Jonathan, you're number 2 or number 3. And then next thing you know, it's not a game, but we're up there. We are genuinely trying to help people when they're asking questions about what's going on. I'll be happy to post policies and offer responses. And sometimes the subjects could get sensitive. So I have no problem with taking it offline, answering by email or even a phone call. It's one of the things that got me more heavily involved in the American Jail Association. iConnect is something every morning I check. I check probably around noon, probably 3 times a day at least. You can make fun of me. It's more than that probably.
Moderator.
But it's an excellent tool for all members to get some information.
Mm-hmm. And as I understand it, it is a closed discussion forum just for AJA members, which means that you're among people who you can have very candid conversations with other corrections officers about the things that you're experiencing in your jails. And so I think that's one of the benefits of being able to go to a place like that, kind of a safe spot to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, I know that you're a huge fan of iConnect and a supporter of it as well. I see your responses to postings frequently. Tell me a little bit about your perspective on iConnect.
I have to agree 100% with Shaun. It's a digital online networking service for jail professionals. There is a lot of value in it, and as much as I believe I provide value to other members on the site, the same for me. There have been policies or things I've been thinking about within my agency, and I'm like, well, what do we do? And then I'll see a post with that piece of information in there. It's also a very good recruitment tool as well, because AJA is run by the members, right? Mm-hmm. All of us who serve on the board or committees, we're all volunteers, and it's a good way to get people involved in the association as well. The more involved you get just on iConnect, the more interested you are in the other things that are happening with AJA. And I know that actually my I won't call it necessarily my career, but my involvement really did start from iConnect. And the fun thing about it is that I was a AJA member for several years before I found out about iConnect. I really found out about iConnect talking to Shaun Klucznik over here when we were co-mentors at the NJLCA, the National Jail Leadership Academy, where he was kind of asking me to consider running for the board and then start talking about the benefits and ways to get involved. And so it's a great asset to the association. I love seeing the interaction, and there are hot topics where you see a lot of information go out, but then there's some topics that are unique and maybe not a lot of people have experience with. And so even just that one post and response can start a change within corrections, because now people are like, oh, we didn't think about that before, and can start working on including that into their work processes at their home agencies.
That happens to me a few times. I love when I see something and I'm like, what? I've been doing this 28 years and this is, I've never even heard of this. Let me look into it. And sometimes my post will be simply, I'd love more information too. Right. And it always comes back. It's really an awesome tool. And helps us continue to grow as leaders.
Yeah, and I love that point that both of you made about it being an opportunity to show some leadership within corrections as well, right? And just by sharing information, sharing what you know, and I think both of you, it was a pathway for your journey to the board of directors. So I know that I noticed very early on, both of you were very prominent in your responses on iConnect. So it's not just a place to go to have discussions and post a question and get an answer. It's also a place where you can post photos and documents and policies. And so, Shaun, I wanted to get your input on that. I know we have a lot of jail policies on iConnect, and you're working on a project. So perhaps you could share with everyone kind of the scope of what they can expect if they go on iConnect and look for policies.
Yeah, great question. So, and we covered this months ago at the annual conference, right? But for those of you that were there, but we can certainly get you updated on that sense, Paul. It's the ability to, I call it a safe space, right? Mm-hmm. It's the ability to ask the questions you may not want to ask, or sometimes you're not sure to ask around other professionals in your organization for a wide variety of reasons, but you can ask it in the safe space and you'll get those responses. And sometimes it's just a simple, hey, how do you interpret this law? Or I live in this state, do you live in the state? Or I just need policy or procedure from this state or a nearby state, or maybe I'm looking for a national policy. So I know for our projects at AJA, a huge component of this is the ability to pull together hundreds and hundreds of policies that literally cover everything from pest control to use of force, right? Your stuff that your sheriff might come to, your chief deputy might come to you and say, hey, I need some research on this real quick. And you could Google it, right? But this is such a unique entity or unique part of the criminal justice system. You're probably not going to find anything off the old Google. But you can go to the listserv. And not only can you get those contacts and information, but you can get the actual in hand, to your point, Chris, a policy. A policy you can look at, download, mm-hmm. It's vetted, it's verified, and then you take that information and then, it's all free, right? So it's not like it's copyrighted. We all always highly encourage each other to take each other's oopsies and our victories and turn it into how you can take it and incorporate it into your own agency. And then the best part about the policy is then you have it. Right, then you can vet it through your own organization, your own legal counsel, your own sheriff, your own chief deputy. I run a committee in my agency that looks at these policies, and then we incorporate it into our own agency. And then you present it, right? So you talk about from a leadership standpoint, what better way to prove your worth, if you will, to the higher ups in your organization if you want to promote or you have those skill sets to network and create a product than iConnect. Because it takes the policy, you bring it into your agency, you change it, you modify it, you do whatever you need to do to make it your own, and then you send up chain of command, right? And then those people will now have the faith in you that you can help solve what is really a local issue to you, but is a national problem. So I think it's a huge benefit. Certainly has saved my bacon more than once when my boss has come to me and said, I need to know about this. And it's not on the radar yet, but the ability to come back with a tangible product in hand, that's just invaluable.
So, Shaun, you've also talked about the benefit of being able to go into iConnect and essentially not have to reinvent the wheel, right? As jail professionals, we struggle with a lot of the same issues within our jails, and sometimes we get in our heads and don't think about the fact that, other jails have probably been there and done that.
Yeah, and honestly, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. If something comes up you haven't dealt with, then why not go out there and see if there's experts? I know sometimes we trap ourselves in our own little world and inside our own walls, but it's especially the speediness or the timeliness of the responses. You can really get your problem solved pretty quick, as you were saying. But something I've done honestly is I've backed off the iConnect a little bit. I definitely pay attention to it. It's one of my favorite things. But what I do is if I see a question come up that would challenge one of my staff members and helping develop them. So somebody asks a question about religious meal service or a classification, I'll take that question, email it to my sergeant, and the first time it happened, they emailed me the response back, hoping I'd post it. No, Sarge, you're an AJA member. Jump on there, get it done, throw it up there, and it helps them get involved more in AJA. And I've noticed that those same sergeants are now, or my medical director especially, she'll offer medical stuff all the time, and she'll jump in and say, answer the question before I even know about it. And I'll get the email alert that my staff is responding perfect, right? Maybe some jails may not feel that's a good idea. This is a group profession, right? If we're helping each other, we're helping the country and keeping our community safer. So I think it's a huge benefit, and I consider it on duty. It's not like you're not going on Facebook, you're not going on, you're not chatting on Messenger. You're helping your peers, and it's such a great tool.
And the AJA has taken on a leadership role in the development of the Jails and Justice Support Center. And Shaun, I understand you're heading up a component of that project that is focused on compiling jail policies. And so could you give everyone a sense for how many jail policies are we talking about and what, the range of topics that are covered that you've discovered on iConnect as a part of creating that project?
Quite frankly, Chris, it shocked even me, the number of policies that we had already pulled and we continue to pull in. So yeah, this is a project with the JJSC, the Jails and Justice Support Center, right? If you know anything about that, this is a critical project. Believe it or not, there is no national repository for jail policy. It just doesn't exist, right? NIC has some pretty good resources. AJ's always had some good resources, but there was no one-stop shop where you could go and send a query, if you will, about pest control or use of force or intake or secure electronics or off-duty overtime, or you name the particular topic. It's everything contained within a lot of the sheriff department functions, but certainly focused and honed in on corrections, right? Local jail operations administration. So what we've done is we pulled together a group of national experts, almost all of them AJA members, some that aren't, but we're not. We'll get them in the fold at some point, but we're not going to just use our own. We're not going to look only in our silo. So we pull together national experts that have screened off, or in the process of screening off, about 1,000 policies, which just blows my mind how many were already out there. And again, we continue to pull them in on a daily basis because of the iConnect and the exchange of ideas and policies. We're taking those policies, and we have for many, many months now, put them into categories relative to the core JJSC areas, working group work areas. And then the goal is to then screen them off by experts based on size of facility and regional representation across the whole country. So we're not only looking at policies from Florida or Texas or Colorado or the East Coast. What doesn't matter what it is. So you can get the applicability of the policy based on what area you live in, but also get a good taste of what's across the whole country. So, and then we're rating those policies from a scientific standpoint using the Likert scale, and then we'll then upload the top 3, top 5, top 10 policies on the JGASC website. But we also have access to them through iConnect as well. So if you send a query out, if I want to see the top 3 use of force policies across the whole country, finally, for the first time ever, you'll get the top 3 rated policies for use of force across the country relative to correction. So again, you're not going to find it on Google. You're not going to find it on any of their search engine. It'll be exclusive to AJA and the JGSC programs. But again, linking it back, it all wouldn't be possible were it not for iConnect. There's no other mechanism, if you will, to pull together 1,000 policies that are specifically unique to the world of corrections.
That's going to be a tremendous resource. Definitely a very important initiative. When we talk to our members and ask them what they think about when they think of the AJA and the value of membership in AJA, some of the things that come up are our training, our exceptional training, our annual conference and jail expo. But almost always among the top 3 things is networking. So, so iConnect is really an online networking tool as well.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, can you talk a little bit about that? Have you made connections that you've kept through iConnect?
I absolutely have made connections on iConnect. And, the conference is a good place to put a face to a name. And, at several past conferences, people walked up and say, "Hey, I know who you are. You helped me with XYZ policy. You helped me with XYZ situation, that I was having in my agency." And then I could say, "Hey, I know who you are. You actually helped me prove something to my agency," right? Because another great thing about iConnect is that you can kind of see trends, right? National trends and conversations. And so one of another great benefits I see from iConnect is that, you may be having a conversation about a situation that you're seeing within your agency. You can jump on iConnect and not even asking a question, using a query, you can find 10, 15 posts about the exact same thing. You compile all that information and take it back to the other decision makers within your agency. Says, "You see, here is a trend. We need to be paying attention to this." So it's a wonderful thing. Shaun mentioned it earlier on about, there's some conversations that are kind of sensitive, right? It may be something that's staff specific, and they don't want to put a person's name out there. But, the more you engage people on iConnect, the more comfortable that they are. I open up my inbox a lot of times, and I'll have 4 or 5 messages from people about things they aren't necessarily want to post on iConnect or to the open forum, but because of the engagement and the level of feedback that you receive, they know that, hey, I can reach out to Jonathan, I can reach out to Shaun, I can reach out to Shawn, and they're going to provide an answer, or at least point me in the direction of where I can find an answer. So it's a fantastic networking opportunity.
Yeah, and I appreciate the point that you made. It is 24/7, right? So we all have our connections we can reach out to, and they're equally busy. But when you need a quick answer, you can pop into iConnect, do a search, or put a post out there. I found people are very quick to respond to the posts that you put out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one of you mentioned as well that it's a recruitment and retention tool, and I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective, but you can really see where the talent is in the field based upon who's responding to questions. I would also add that AJA does have a classified section on its website, a career center, if you will, where you can post positions for free if you're a member, but you can also put positions on iConnect as well. Have any of you had any experience with connecting with people at that level?
Well, I actually have.
Okay.
Last year, we were doing a big recruitment for a chief operating officer, and so I was able to post on both the forum as well as the job application site, and I got some feedback. Got people who reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're interested in this position. Tell us some more information." And of course, I was able to send them some more information or answer questions specifically to that particular position. So it's a great opportunity. There's so many things that you get out of being on iConnect. Another point that you kind of mentioned just briefly is the training opportunities, right? And so on iConnect, there's free training offered to membership through iConnect, right? Justice Clearinghouse. They always have a great session or two that they post almost weekly, right? And training is one of the most important things to any agency and staff, especially with budgetary issues and whatnot. And so having the ability to jump on iConnect as a member and seeing, hey, Justice Clearinghouse is offering this training, or other professionals that will list like resources that, on education, there's one that comes out about use of force, like a use of force
Update. Yeah.
updates, right? That you can read and see what's happening in the court systems. Just a wonderful array of information that is available to the membership on iConnect.
Yeah.
Right.
And I quite often use the tag function because I know who's I know a bunch of people, right? But I know who's an expert in certain things. And if I realize Jonathan's an expert in this, then I'll hey, Jonathan, today this would be a great one for you to handle. And next thing he gets an email, pop in iConnect, and the answer's there. So it's a really cool tool.
I mean, along the same lines as the recruitment, where I have seen enormous value in, I've been the sender and receiver of this is job descriptions, right?
Oh, yeah.
Someone will say, hey, we're
absolutely.
updating a job description for a classifications manager or a security staff or a control center officer or detention officer. And there's such a wide variety we now know in our institutions for these positions. And a lot of times you're tasked with, hey, I want to start, emergency response team. I need a job description. And rather than start from scratch, again, you're not going to be able to Google it, right? Like we're so used to in our private lives, right? To be able to put that out there to say, hey, I need a job description for, and I've seen them all, from maintenance to mental health to medical director, all of it, and to get numerous responses back of an actual legitimate job description that's in use at the time. That is such an invaluable asset to be able to then customize it to your own agency needs and then send it to the powers that be, and then you can cross that off your list of things to do.
Right. And I see questions that, on topics that you would think would be very difficult to get a response to. And I always see someone weighing in, special meal requests as an example.
Yeah.
Shaun, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, when those special requests, especially for religious, right?
Yeah,
when those
right.
go in, we have experts from all across the country that pop in.
A Jewish rabbi
Absolutely.
pops in.
Yep.
Especially when their high holy days come through for Ramadan or for Hanukkah, right?
Yeah.
We always doing those posts. That's when they come out. They're like, oh, how are you guys handling this? How are we
Right.
handling Ramadan
Yeah.
service? And
Timely.
And then we answer, and then we'll have the real experts come in and say, well, that's a great answer. You guys are almost there. You might want to tweak this to make sure you're fully compliant with our faith. And I think that's a huge tool. It's really good. Yeah.
enormous.
And yes, it is used as a tool to educate folks about what's going on with trainings offered through AJA, and also, alerts that we might have to share from the federal government or what have you. We do use it to get the word out about what's going on within the field of corrections as well. So it is, I wouldn't say it's a news resource, but certainly it's a resource that we use to help create awareness of important things.
And it also makes us aware too, as an
Right.
association. If something pops up somewhere we didn't know about it,
Correct.
we can reach out to them and say, how can we help you? How can we help advocate for this or
here-
against this?
And here's a great example of that. So with the PREA Resource Center going away, right? And everybody was up in
Funding,
the air.
yeah.
Everybody was really worried. It was great. You had an expert that was familiar with what PREA really is, right? We're able to jump on iConnect and provide everybody, here's the status of what's happening. This is what's happening with this particular group. This is who's going to oversee it. And I'll tell you what, I was actually sitting in a class for the Texas Jail Association, and the instructor said, well, the PREA Resource Center is gone. And so essentially PREA is gone. That was almost the message we got.
Yeah.
And right about the same time, my phone pinged and I looked down and I saw that message about what was really happening. And I was like, well, actually, like real time, and even though those were not AJA members, there were some in the room, I was able to provide that information to a room of jail professionals that brought their minds at ease, because if you say PREA is gone, there are PREA coordinators all across the country that are wondering, if PREA is gone, am I out of a job, right? And so
I'm no longer employed.
I'm no longer employed. And so that was able to bring down that fear. So people were able to go back to your agency and say, no, that's not quite accurate. And there's more information that's going to be coming forth thanks to iConnect.
Right, and that is a very solid point. iConnect is a tremendous resource just to keep yourself up to speed. So if you've not visited the site yet, I really encourage you to do so. It's a tremendous resource. It's a very valuable member benefit. There's subject matter experts out there who can help you with whatever you're struggling with 24/7. So check it out, and thanks for tuning in for this episode of our podcast.